Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a real musical enigma, someone whose fingerprints are all over modern music, but who often seems, well, almost invisible himself.
Yeah, a legend hiding in plain sight, you could say. We're talking about Nicholas Drain Lowe.
Exactly. Born in 1949, a key figure in British music for, over 5 decades now. His story is fascinating because his songs, often way more famous than he is.
It's that paradox, isn't it? The ultimate songwriter and producer whose biggest fear, he actually said this, was sticking with what you did when you were famous.
That's our mission today, then, to unpack the career of this guy who deliberately swerved away from easy fame. We're going to cover his journey through pub rock, new wave, power pop.
And he wasn't just a writer or producer. He's a genuine multi-instrumentalist. Vocals, bass, guitar, keyboards, the whole package.
But it's that fear of becoming a nostalgia act, that drive to keep changing. That's really the key to understanding him, I think.
Absolutely. He starts as this, architect of new wave, gets this nickname Basher, and then completely reinvents himself later on.
So let's start there, with the Basher era. How did he even get into the music scene?
Well, his journey really kicks off back in 1967. He was in a band called Kippington Lodge with his school friend Brinsley Schwarz. They even put out a few singles on Parlophone. Pretty standard start, really.
That's Parlophone. Wow.
Yeah.
So early days. But then Kippington Lodge morphs into Brinsley Schwarz, the band, in late '69.
Right. And this is where things get, well, interesting and kind of disastrous initially. They shifted towards country and blues rock.
And their management had this grand plan, didn't they? The infamous plane stunt.
Oh, yeah. Fame Pushers Ltd. They had this, frankly, bonkers idea. Fly a whole plane load of British music journalists, the really cynical London crowd, all the way to New York.
To see their debut at the Fillmore East, that sounds incredibly high risk.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure.
Exactly. The logistics, the cost. It was meant to be this huge manufactured event, make them instant stars.
But it didn't quite work out that way.
Not even close. The sources say the stunt just completely backfired. The band wasn't ready. The hype felt forced. And the journalists basically savaged them. They became a laughingstock, is the phrase used.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So instant notoriety, but for all the wrong reasons. How did they recover from that?
They had to ditch the hype and earn it the hard way. They hit the London pub rock circuit. This was, the early 70s, a real reaction against bloated prog rock.
Right. Back to basics. Strip down rock and roll in sweaty pubs.
Precisely. Playing constant gigs, building a real following based on performance, not hype. That whole pub rock scene was crucial. It valued energy, authenticity, stuff that definitely influenced Lowe's later. You can see the seeds of punk and new wave and that whole ethos.
That makes sense. That raw, no-frills approach must have stuck with him. So Brinsley Schwarz runs its course, dissolves around 75, and then comes Stiff Records.
Yes, this is the pivotal moment, 1976. Lowe's moves from being in the band to being the guy shaping the sound. And the very first single ever released on Stiff Records.
It was his, wasn't it?
Yep. August 1976. So it goes on the A side, Heart of the City, on the B side, History right there. And the label itself started on a shoestring.
The funding story is amazing.
It really is. Just 400 pounds. That's all they had to start Stiff Records. A loan from Lee Berlow, the singer from Dr. Feelgood.
400 quid to launch a label that basically defined UK Indian new wave. Incredible.
It speaks volumes about the DIY spirit, doesn't it? And Lowe wasn't just the first artist, he became the in-house producer. This is where he earns the nickname Basher.
Okay, Basher. Let's unpack that. Why Basher?
It came from his production style. It was fast, efficient, no nonsense, rough and ready. The story goes, his instructions to bands were basically, bash it out now, we'll tart it up later.
Huh. Get the energy down first, worry about the polish after.
Exactly. It was perfect for the punk bands who had loads of energy but maybe not much studio time or budget. Capture that raw, spontaneous feel, don't overthink it.
And he used that Basher style on some absolutely landmark records, defining records.
Totally. He produced The Damned's first single, New Rose. Think about that.
Yeah.
October 1976. Widely considered the very first proper English punk single.
Before the Sex Pistols' big splash.
Months before Anarchy in the UK. So Lowe is right there at ground zero. He also produced their whole first album, damned classic punk sound.
But he wasn't just punk, was he? His biggest production relationship was probably with Elvis Costello.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. Lowe produced Costello's first 5 albums. 5. From 1977 to 1981. We're talking My Aim is True, This Year's Model, Armed Forces, game-changing records.
What was it about the Lowe sound that worked so well for Costello? What did he bring?
It was that basher clarity, but refined for Costello's more intricate songwriting. You get these really dry, punchy drums, driving bass lines, often low, playing bass himself, and everything's mixed so Costello's vocals and those incredibly sharp lyrics just slice right through.
Tight, focused, no fat.
Exactly. It proved rock could be smart, angry, and concise. Power pop perfection, really. He just had this knack for bringing out the best in these literate, slightly udgy songwriters.
And he was busy beyond Costello, too, right? Still working with other stiff acts?
Oh, yeah. He produced stuff for Reckless Eric, Whole Wide World, and bands like Alberto y Los Trios Paranoias, who are more on the satirical side of punk. Plus, guys like Mickey Jupp, more of a roots rocker.
And Outside Stiff.
He branched out. Crucially, he produced the Pretenders' debut single in 1978.
Stop Your Sobbing. Huge song. Introduced Chrissie Hynde to the world.
Yeah, with that distinctive low punch. And he worked with Graham Parker, too, produced his first and third albums. Parker was part of that same wave of smart, articulate songwriters.
And Dr. Feelgood. He produced them, too, didn't he? Kind of paying back that initial loan.
Metaphorically, yeah. He produced the album Sneak and Suspicion for them, and later Be Seeing You, which had their biggest hit single, Milk and Alcohol. And guess who co-wrote that song?
Had to be Lowe.
Yeah.
Nick Lowe. He was just everywhere, shaping the sound, writing the hits. It's kind of staggering when you list it all out.
It really is. Which brings us perfectly into this core paradox we mentioned. He's the guy behind the scenes, the basher, the producer. But often, his biggest impact, certainly financially, came when other people sang his songs.
Yeah, his own chart success as a solo artist was, well, it was there, but relatively modest compared to his influence. He did have a couple of notable UK hits.
I Love the Sound of Breaking Glass was one, right? Top 10?
That's the one. Reached number 7 in the UK in 1978. It was actually a bit different for him musically. A bit more art rock, less raw power pop.
But the big one, the one everyone kind of knows, even if they don't place the name.
Has to be Cruel to Be Kind.
That's his signature tune as a performer, surely.
For sure. Co-written way back with Ian Gom from Brinsley Schwarz. The hit version, the one everyone knows from 1979, was actually a re-recording by his band Rockpile.
Ah, okay, so not even his solo recording technically. Well, it was on his album Labor of Lust, but Rockpile played on it. The song was massive worldwide, though. Number 12 in the UK, the US Billboard chart, Canada, Australia, everywhere.
And that album, Labor of Lust, did well too.
Yeah, went gold in Canada. So he definitely had his moments in the spotlight as an artist. But the real story, the reason his songs are just part of the cultural furniture, is the cover versions. This is the real deep dive nugget for you.
Okay, let's get into it. The big one has to be what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding, right?
Absolutely, the prime example. He wrote and recorded it with Brinsley Schwarz way back in '74. Kind of a heartfelt, slightly pleading song.
Then Elvis Costello picks it up.
Costello and the Attractions covered it in 1979, often as a B-side or bonus track initially, but it became one of their anthems. Really powerful version, much more urgent. That gave it a big boost in the new wave era.
But that's not even the biggest version, is it?
Not by a long shot. Get this. In 1992, the singer Curtis Stigers covered it for the soundtrack of the movie The Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard. The Whitney Houston movie.
That's the one. And that soundtrack, well, it's one of the biggest selling albums of all time. Sold something like 44 million copies globally.
44 million. Wow.
So think about that journey. A song written by a pub rocker in the early 70s, popularized by a new wave icon in the late 70s, ends up being heard by tens of millions of people worldwide in the 90s because it was on a Whitney Houston movie soundtrack.
That's insane. Most people hearing that song would have zero idea it was a Nick Lowe composition originally.
Exactly. It's the ultimate example of the song totally eclipsing the songwriter's fame. His work embedded itself in global culture.
And there are other big covers too, right? He seemed happy to let his bandmates have hits with his songs.
Yeah, like I Knew the Bride, When She Used to Rock and Roll. Great tune, became a signature hit for Dave Edmunds, his bandmate in Rockpile.
For a songwriter.
Definitely seemed that way. And then there's the Johnny Cash connection. Cash covered The Beast in Me.
Such a brilliant, dark song. Perfect for Cash.
It really was, and it shows the breadth of Lowe's writing, He could their punchy power pop, but also these really deep, soulful country ballads. That Cash cover is definitive.
And we mentioned the Dr. Feelgood hits he co-wrote. Milk and Alcohol. That's it. I Quit. He was just churning out quality material.
Absolutely. Beyond the hooks, though, you have to appreciate his lyrical skill. He had this real wit, this love of wordplay. puns, clever turns of phrase.
The novelty songs, as the sources call them?
Yeah, though novelty might undersell them a bit. They're clever, often quite cutting. Think of titles like All Men Are Liars.
Uh-huh. Yeah, pretty direct.
Or Time Wounds All Heals, which he wrote with Carlene Carter. Just brilliant, flipping that old saying.
Yeah.
He loved messing with cliches and expectations.
And that early track, I Love My Label, under a fake name.
Oh, that's pure low cheekiness. Recorded as Terry Modern of the Tartan Horde. It was basically a love song to United Artists, the label he'd left, released on Stiff, the label he'd founded to get away from labels like UA.
That's layers of irony right there.
Totally. And it makes sense that bands like Wilco covered I Love My Label years later. You know, artists who appreciate that kind of clever, slightly insider songwriting craft.
That focus on craft and collaboration really defines his middle period, too, especially with Rockpile. Let's talk about that band dynamic.
Okay, Rockpile. On paper, Lowe on bass, Dave Edmunds on guitar, Billy Bremner also on guitar, Terry Williams on drums. By all accounts, an absolutely killer live band, super tight, energetic, mixing rockabilly, pub rock, power pop.
But legally, a total mess.
A complete nightmare. They played together constantly from about 75 to 80. Lowe and Edmunds were signed to different record labels, had different managers. It was contractual chaos.
So they couldn't release albums as Rockpile.
Hardly ever. There's only one official studio album credited solely to Rockpile, and that's Seconds of Pleasure from 1980. Great record, includes tracks like When I Write the Book and Heart.
That wasn't all their work together, was it? This is the confusing part.
Not at all. This is the key thing you need to know. Lowe's album, Labor of Lust, the one with Cruel to Be Kind, and Dave Edmunds' album, Repeat When Necessary, they were effectively Rockpile albums.
So same band, just released under either Lowe's or Edmunds' name to get around the label issues.
Exactly. If you bought Labor of Lust, you got Lowe singing, but it was Edmunds, Bremner, and Williams playing. Same for Edmunds' record. It was the only way they could release the music they were making together.
Man, the music business. Always finding ways to make things difficult.
Tell me about it. It's classic Lowe's-gin, though, isn't it? Brilliant music, slightly obscured by these weird logistical hurdles.
And that collaborative spirit bled into his personal life, too, leading to that really interesting connection with the Carter Cash family.
Yeah, this is quite a story. In 1979, Nick Lowe marries Carlene Carter,
Daughter of June Carter Cash and Carl Smith, stepdaughter of Johnny Cash, country music royalty.
Right. So suddenly, this English New Wave guy is part of one of the most legendary families in American music history. They were married until 1990.
Must have been quite the culture clash, or maybe synergy.
Seems like synergy, artistically at least. Lowe produced Carlene's album Musical Shapes, which, surprise, surprise,
Was basically a Rockpile album.
you got it. Blurring those lines again between rock and country, UK and US sounds. And here's a sweet detail. The promo video for Cruel to Be Kind, it uses footage from Nick and Carlene's actual wedding.
Oh, that's cool. A real home movie vibe.
Yeah. And the family connection lasted beyond the marriage. He adopted Carlene's daughter, Tiffany. He stayed close with Johnny and June, played with Johnny, recorded with him.
And Cash covering The Beast in Me came out of that relationship.
For sure. Lowe even produced a single for Johnny Cash in 1980, Without Love. It just shows how respected Lowe's songwriting was, that it could cross genres and generations like that. Even the Man in Black was a fan.
Beyond Rockpile and the family stuff, did he keep forming bands?
He did. He had touring bands like Noise to Go and later the Cowboy Outfit. That band actually featured Paul Carrack on keyboards.
Paul Carrack, great singer and musician.
Yeah, from Squeeze, Mike, plus the Mechanics. And again, Lowe helped him out, wrote songs for Carrack's solo career like I Live on a Battlefield and I Need You, always supporting his mates.
Then there was Little Village, right? That sounded like a potential supergroup.
It really did on paper. Lowe on bass, John Hyatt on guitar and vocals, Ry Cooder on guitar, Jim Keltner on drums. Legends, all of them.
How did that come about?
They first got together as the backing band for John Hyatt's amazing 1987 album, Bring the Family. Recorded it super fast, incredible chemistry, so they thought, hey, let's be a proper band.
But it didn't quite take off.
They released one self-titled album in 1992. It was good stuff, but maybe the expectations were just too high for a band with that kind of pedigree. It's pretty short-lived.
So after all this intense collaboration, did he start winding down the production work too? The basher role?
Yeah, he became much more selective about producing from the mid-'80s onwards. He did reunite with Elvis Costello to produce Blood and Chocolate in 1986, which was a return to a more raw sound for Costello.
A final blast from the basher.
Kind of. But after producing an album for a band called the Katydids in 1990, He pretty much hung up his producer hat for other artists.
Declared retirement from the desk.
Essentially. There was one tiny exception. He got talked into producing one track for the Mavericks for the Apollo 13 soundtrack in '95. But other than that, yeah, Nick Lowe, the producer, was basically done.
Which leads us neatly into that final fascinating chapter. The reinvention. The basher becomes the balladeer. This is where he directly confronts that fear of getting stuck, right?
Absolutely. This wasn't just a gradual drift. It was a conscious, philosophical choice. He actively decided to move away from the sound he'd helped create. That quote you mentioned earlier really says it all.
I didn't want to become one of those thinning-haired, jowly old geezers who still does the same shtick.
They did when they were young, slim, and beautiful. That's revolting and rather tragic. Brutal honesty, isn't it? But it shows his artistic integrity.
He wanted to age gracefully, musically speaking. Avoid becoming a parody.
Exactly. So he moved out of what he called ironic pop and animated rock, the fast, witty stuff, and deliberately cultivated this new persona, a worldly balladeer.
Focusing on grave vocals and graceful tunes? It's quite a shift.
A massive shift. And technically it involved what he brilliantly called escaping the tyranny of the snare drum. He said that in a No Depression interview around 2001.
Escaping the tyranny of the snare drum. I love that. What does that mean in practice?
Yeah.
Less frantic drumming.
Precisely. Think about power pop. The snare drum is often really loud, hitting on beats 2 and 4, driving the song forward relentlessly. It dictates the energy, the pace.
Right, it forces you into that high gear.
Yeah. So by escaping it, he meant allowing the rhythm to be subtler, using brushes instead of sticks, maybe letting the acoustic guitar or a simple bass line carry the rhythm. It allowed space.
Space for what?
Space for him to sing differently, to sing more quietly, explore the nuances of his voice as it aged. Critics noted he found these deeper nooks and crannies in his mature voice. He wasn't shouting over a loud band anymore.
He could be more expressive, more intimate.
Exactly. This new sound really started to emerge on the album The Impossible Bird in 1994. And then he refined it on subsequent albums like Dig My Mood, The Convincer, At My Age, right up to The Old Magic. They're all part of this later phase.
And musically, what was he drawing on for this sound?
Deep American roots music. You hear vintage country textures, a lot of soul and R&B influence, gospel harmonies sometimes, think upright bass, maybe some pedal steel, tasteful arrangements. It's much slower, more reflective.
The songs themselves changed too, presumably. Less witty cynicism.
Yeah, the lyrics became more about observation, aging, the complexities of relationships viewed from a distance. Still clever, but less overtly jokey. More elegant, I suppose. It's the sound of someone comfortable in their own skin, not needing to impress with speed or volume.
Like he finally allowed himself to slow down. It's a remarkable artistic evolution.
It really is. But the interesting thing is, even though he wasn't chasing hits anymore, his influence continued. Younger artists were still paying attention.
Like Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah, Turner's a great example. He cited Lowe as one of his favorite lyricists. Said Lowe's songwriting sent him back to square one.
That's high praise. Suggests Lowe made him rethink his whole approach to writing lyrics.
It does. It shows the enduring quality of the craftsmanship, doesn't it? That a modern songwriter known for his own sharp lyrics would look back to Lowe like that.
And Lowe himself hasn't just stopped, has he? He's kept working, kept touring in this later style.
Not at all. He even released a Christmas album in 2013, Quality Street, with his typical wit, of course.
Of course.
And touring. He's toured quite a bit, often with sympathetic collaborators. He did tours with Wilco, which makes total sense musically. And for years now, he's frequently toured with Lost Straitjackets.
The instrumental band who wear Mexican wrestling masks.
That's them. It's a brilliant pairing, actually. They provide this fantastic, versatile backing, very respectful of the songs, and their whole masked shtick kind of fits Lowe's own preference for letting the music do the talking.
And he's still showing up in interesting places. Newport Folk Festival recently.
Yeah, July 2024, according to the source material. Helped close the festival, shared the stage with Conan O'Brien, of all people. Still relevant, still respected. From pub rock to folk festival headliner, quite a journey.
So just to round off the personal picture, he's based in London now.
Lives in Brentford, yep. Married again in 2010 to a designer named Peter Waddington, and they have a son together. Seems like a settled, contented later life.
Okay, so let's try and pull all these threads together. We've traced this incredible 5-decade path of Nick Lowe.
We started with Basher, the Stiff Records house producer, launching punk and new wave on that tiny 400-pound loan, defining that raw, energetic sound.
Then we looked at the songwriter paradox, at the guy whose songs were often huge hits for other people.
Yeah.
What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding being the ultimate example, reaching millions via The Bodyguard.
We untangled the Rockpile years, that amazing band hampered by record company politics, and his fascinating connection into the Carter-Cash dynasty.
Yeah, the British New Waver marrying into American country royalty.
And finally, we saw his deliberate, graceful shift away from pop stardom, escaping the tyranny of the snare drum to become this respected, worldly balladeer, actively choosing reinvention over nostalgia.
So now when you hear Cruel to Be Kind or Peace, Love, and Understanding, or even The Beast in Me, you know the full story behind the man who wrote them. You understand the why behind his career choices.
And it brings us back to that central paradox. His work is arguably much better known than his name or face.
Which leads to our final thought for you. In today's world, everyone seems obsessed with personal branding, with being famous for being famous, constantly seeking the spotlight.
Yeah, it's all about visibility.
So here's the question. Is there maybe a different kind of success, perhaps even a quieter kind of victory, in what Nick Lowe achieved? Letting your actual work, the songs, the craft, become globally famous and enduring, while you yourself manage to retain a degree of anonymity, stepping back from the fame game.
Is there something more lasting, maybe more artistically pure, in having the art transcend the artist? Nick Lowe's career certainly makes you wonder. Something to think about.